Okay, so this time we're going to graph this equation and we're going to do transformations. Um, but I'm going to show you two ways to do it. So the first way, I'll do it like we were doing the other ones with a table of values. Okay, you are expecting this to be a quadratic function, and it should make a parabola of some sort. Okay, you're expecting it to reflect about the x-axis. So reflect. It's going to be upside down. I'll just say that. Okay, that's how it's going to reflect. And you're expecting it to shrink. That's a vertical shrink. A vertical shrink. And then you're expecting it to shift up 4. Okay. Now, sometimes the fraction scares us. It's okay. You can avoid fractions if you want, but we'll see what happens. Okay. I'll probably just live with the fraction. Okay, so I'm thinking it's going to shift up 4. This doesn't change my x values. So I'm going to go ahead and put in -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So my x values, my inputs are going to be the same. Now let's see what happens. Now I'm not writing this out, I'm just talking it. I could write one of them out. I'll write one of them out. So you have y equals -1/2 x squared plus 4. And if I had lots of room and time, I'd write all of them out for you. But if I'm going to put in a -2, so remember I'm expecting the origin to be at, or the vertex to be at 0, 0. And so I pick 2 to the left and 2 to the right. Okay, so I'm putting in a -2, square it, you get 4. You have to follow the order of operations. And then -1/2 times 4 is going to be -2 plus 4, which is going to be 2. So do this, write this out, bring me extra paper if that helps you. Okay, so I have the point -2, 2. -2, 2, right there. Okay, now I'll put in -1. And this time I'm not going to write it all out. So I put in -1, I square it, that's 1. -1/2 and 4 is going to be 3.5. Now, a lot of times I don't have you do mixed numbers because generally when we have our final answers. But to graph this is going to be easier to graph 3.5 than to say, what would it be, 7/2? Okay. So -1, 3.5, right there. Kind of right there. Okay. Now let's put in 0. 0 squared, 0. 0 times -1/2, 0. 0 plus 4, 4. And then we're going to put in 1. 1 squared is 1. 1 times -1/2, -1/2, -1/2 and 4, 3.5. We were expecting that. We're expecting that matching up to occur. Okay, so 1, 3.5. And then put in 2, and what do you think you're going to get? 2 squared is 4. 4 times -1/2 is -2, and 4 is 2. Okay. There's the points for the parabola we're making. Okay, kind of like that. Did it do what we said it would? It's a parabola. It reflected, and it shifted up 4 units. Oh, and it did do a vertical shrink. Okay, so you could test that with a standard parabola if you wanted to. Okay, that's how we've been doing it. We've been making a table of values. That's to help you. If it doesn't help, don't do it. But a lot of times when you're first starting out with these, it takes a while to wrap your mind around what's going on. So if you're like, oh, I think I have a pretty good idea of what's going on, I'll just use the transformations to graph. And that's what we do. A lot of times we want a quick sketch, so we don't want to have to spend a lot of time graphing these necessarily. Okay, so the original quadratic, you could make the table of values would look like that. That is the basic parabola without transformations. Okay, now I'm saying it's going to reflect, that it's going to be upside down. So that would be something like, oh man, it'd be here, and then here, and then 4, and then on the other side. Okay. Because I'm using black ink, I'll just dot it. That's not our final answer, but we know it's going to reflect about the, with respect to the x-axis. Okay, we're expecting a vertical shrink. So all those outputs are getting cut in half. So I'm going to go to a different color. That's going to be cut in half. It used to be an output of -1, now it's -1/2. This was an output of -4, now it's going to be -2. And the same thing on the other side. Okay, so now I have this parabola. Great. Now I've got to shift it up 4 units. So take all those points that I had. I was here down, let me do it in, I don't know, purple, I guess. So I was here at -2, 2, but I got to shift up 1, 2, 3, 4. It puts it right there. I take my -1/2 and go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I take my 0, 0 and go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the same thing on the other side because it is symmetric. And I get that graph. Okay, that should be what my other one looks like right here. Okay, I think the graph paper is the same. Maybe the one is a little smaller. Anyway, they should look the same. Now, you can write these extra graphs in there. It's kind of confusing. One way you could do it is just to use dotted lines and then your final one make it like dark, or you could highlight, bring a highlighter and highlight the one that's the final answer or something if you choose to do it that way. Okay? But both ways are fine with me. We just want you to graph these correctly.